Hello Natroners and welcome back to another episode of VFX with Natron. Alright, so today we're going to be looking at some dynamic lighting. We've done some dynamic lighting and this is actually going to go back to almost our first episode, or maybe it was the second. It was actually the second episode of this. We're going to be going back to working with the waveform today a little bit. But before I continue, I suppose I should show you what the goal of today's today's episode is going to be. So today's goal is going to be this. Alright, so, you saw it, you're saying to yourself, what? Wait a minute, that looked 3D. But it's not 3D, it's fake 3D. So we're over here in Natron, and you'll notice that I've already got this preset up to a way we've had it before. We've done this in the past when we did painting with procedurals, or painting with, with Natron using the waveform. And one of the key things that we tried to do, and I sort of didn't do everything the best way, it was to introduce you so you guys could explore it. I was hoping somebody would figure this out, but we're going to today, we need to make a real sphere, something that looks spherical. We don't have anything spherical by default. And this is odd. I'm not seeing actually on the waveform. Well, we'll see. This is looking a little. I just noticed. I'm not seeing the little red the outlines or anything. Let's see if it's just because we don't. There they are. Okay, because it just didn't have a source. All right, it's all good. So we've got our waveform up here, and we can see our view. Let's get it fit so it fits nicely, and everything's looking good. So we have a constant here, it's feeding, it's empty, it's got alpha channel to it, and we need to make something that's a sphere to start off with. So we're going to start off with, obviously, something that we've looked at before, but probably people thought, oh, they dismissed it because I kind of dismissed it myself, sort of. We're going to put a radial in. Alright, now, I'm going to tell you right now, there's nothing that, the technique we're going to talk about today can apply to things other than the radial. This is just how we're going to convert the radial into a spheroid. Now, before we had tried using a linear to log, and we tried adjusting the curves to get this little bit down here out of there. But we really don't care about this. We can just get rid of it all together, because right up until this point the sphere is doing exactly what we want it to do. It's curving down, it's creating something spherical. So what I think we want to do is oh yes, and just so you know, my display gamma is set to 1, acceleration is set to 2, so that I have the multiplication only set for the brightness of it only set to 1 because it's good enough for what we need. But the first thing, all right, so what are we going to do? We're going to take and we're going to basically take whatever we have, and we're going to be making it bigger than what we want. So we're going to first make this 1920 by 1920, and then we're going to center our circle like so. All right, or this is going to be our distortion. Or it's not really a distortion. We can use this for distortion amongst other things. But, in fact, that's part of why we've been going over a lot of this, is because what I'm going to be showing today is just about lighting stuff. We can actually, to get things to deform, we have to use a combination of what we're using today with stuff we've used in the past. And I've been trying to build this all up because we're going to be doing an exploration into doing something a bit more complicated in the very near future, probably Saturday. Anyway, So, what are we going to do? How do we make this into a sphere? Well, we've done this, and I'm surprised. I don't know if anybody's thought about this, but if you take a clamp node, and we put a clamp node in here, we can tell the clamp node to change the fall off to between the high point and low point. We can tell the highest point of the clamp node to be forced to white, and the darkest color of the clamp node to be forced to black. Well, all that means is what we have to do is bring the minimum value up until it hits basically the 50% point. So if I change this from 0 to 0.5, or no, 0.5, 0.5, there we go, we wind up with basically half of our image, or half of a sphere, or at least it looks like it. And, well, you say, wait a minute. You forced it down. We forced it. We're taking it and we're actually forcing this down to black. And that's the key thing. We're clamping it off, and if we remove this, you can see that it looks funky. If we, as soon as we enable it, we get this. All right, so this is our sphere. It may not look completely spherical in here, but believe me, when it renders, it will look like a sphere, because this is not actually extending it. It's showing it. Well, it's actually not showing it right, but that's all right. Sometimes the waveform doesn't always update the best way. So we're gonna take this and how do we get lighting off of this? Well, all right. The first thing I think we want to do is I'm just double checking because I want to. Oh yes, we want to. Let's make it so that the waveform sees this as complete black to white, as opposed to 50%. You know, it is stopping at the 50% mark. So what I think we want to do is put a grade node in here, and we're going to set our black point, because this black point, what this does is it says, where does black exist? What is the range of black? And right now we've set it, we want the black to start at 0.5, so we'll set it to 0.5. And as far as I know, this is the only way we can. Oh, that is all right. It's not doing it. Oh, why isn't it doing it the way I thought? Oh, right. We have to unpre-multiply it. There we go. There we go. Now we've got it. We've got to take it and take off the unpre-multiply. And by taking off unpre-multiply, what we see is we wind up with something that looks, now our edges are falling off down towards the black, and it actually looks spherical. And so this is why we're painting with our waveform. We're using this to simulate or to get our view. All right, we're going to move this out of the way. All right, so now obviously we need to put something in here to make lighting. Well, we have this. We've always had this for a long time. We did this early on when we started exploring, of course, the emboss. The croc emboss node. There we go. We get our croc emboss, and the first thing we want to do is, I believe we want to take our light height up to a nice high level. Let me get my exact levels. I want to see. Yes, this is all right. Let's start off with what I'm going to call the biggest problem we face right now. Is that this is not lit. There's a very hard edge here. It's very hard. There's no fall off whatsoever. This is a very harsh thing to be using to simulate 3D. So we're going to actually first create what I'm going to call an ambient light. And an ambient light is just going to be a general thing. We could technically use I suppose we could use the base lighting, but we're going to just pretend this is a real light. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to set the light height up to 100. All right. And of course that creates this problem with the specular, and that's because our view height is positive value, always at 0. As soon as we set it to -1, we wind up with this. All right, we're getting something that looks kind of like a light coming across, but it's way, way, way too hard. we've also talked about, let's just explore something here. We know that shader toys by default work in RGB color space. Here's the question we need to ask ourselves. Is the reason that this is so harsh because this is working in RGB color space and so the fall off is not smooth? Or is this just really harsh and we're going to have to do something else? So let's first try converting its color space. We've done this as well. Wonder why we've talked about this in the past. Maybe because we need it here. All right, let's take a look. Whoop, that didn't work. Why isn't that not working? There we go. So we need an OCIO. Let's take a look at OCIO color space. We say the input color space is going to be RGB. The output color space is going to be, whoa, that's looking really very different than what we might have expected. That might not, it doesn't look like it's actually done what we wanted it to do, but let's see. No, well, we're going to just keep it here for right now. Maybe we need to, we're going to assume we're going to follow this path just a little bit, and then we're going to go back and probably change this to another thing. All right. Well, I can see that this has not been brightened, so obviously maybe I need to equalize this. Let's try an EQ. And if you don't know what equalize does, equalize tries to sort of look at everything and equalize it out, space it out a little bit. No, equalize is not going to do what we want there. It's definitely not the right thing. What I think we want to do is just do another grade. All right, let's see. Let's try taking a grade. We'll turn off the pre-multiply so that it's there. We're going to set our white value, so our white value is lower until we're just going to keep dropping this down until we get this down to a nice level where it's about there. Does that look good? I don't think that looks better than this. I think that looks much better. So what this is telling me is that the color space is not going to fix our gigantic hole in here. So we're going to have to take a different approach. All right. I knew that. You probably figured it out from before, from the fact I was saying, oh, maybe we need to. So what we have to first do is, before we explore using this as a lighting node, what I think we want to do is set up what, as I said, the ambient light. And so the ambient light, what is ambience? Ambience is going to be the light that is, hold on one second. I want to make sure of something here. Yes. All right. Yes, our ambient light, what we have here is our light position, and I want to make sure we're on frame 1. Right. Our light position here determines where, relatively where this light is, or where the light that creates this emboss effect is. And the thing that's nice about this, and the reason we explored lighting or doing an emboss effect the other way, was because we wanted to see if we could do it internally. And currently the problem we run into is, while we could simulate it using the system, I think it would take more effort than it was worth to get better lighting, so or better and quicker lighting. And this works pretty well. The only problem we face with, of course, Shader Toy is that Shader Toy, sometimes we have to disable rendering on saving and loading to ensure that the shaders load correctly because of potential racing issues. And I hate that because it causes errors, and we don't want those errors. But at this point, I don't think there's any easy way to avoid that for right now. And this operates very, very quickly. So this is a Shader Toy, so we're going to just use it. So what are we going to do? We're going to set this to the light position to 0 and 0. And you say to yourself, well, wait a minute. Is that any different than what we had before? And I'm going to pull this off, and we're going to just look at it before. This is before. All right, so that's what we had. That's our grade, and this is our emboss. So the fact is that we could, in theory, just avoid this. This would work if we just are keeping this at its default thing. I think we're better off. Anytime we can avoid using a node, I think we should. So the only thing that might come up in... The only thing that goes through my mind is, if we lower this at all, does it change anything? No, it's not changing anything until we get below 0. Alright, so this light here, or this croc, is going to be a useless thing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to reconnect our everything to our base, to our waveform point, so we can monitor it over here. And we're going to select your grade, and we're going to hit a point there to add a dot node. All right, and so here what we're going to do is we're going to treat this as our fundamental, our base light. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to put a mix node here, or a merge node, I should say. So we're going to take a merge, and for this merge, we're going to put A in, because we want to preserve the alpha channel out of this. I think we have an alpha channel. Yes, we do. We have this alpha channel. Although, here's something to note. I don't know if people can see it, but the alpha channel is currently, it has gradation to it. It may not show up very well over the internet, but over this video, but this is darker over here than it is in the center. So we're going to have to actually clamp this to get it back to something functional. All right, let's fit that back. So what are we going to do? This is going to be our initial light. This is going to be the ambient light. What we're trying to do, and let's get off of the alpha. I want to dim this down so that we have a general sense of darkness to it. Well, how dark do I want it to be? I think I want to put it at 0.03. Get it nice and dark. You can still see it, but it's dark. This is going to represent all the dark areas, or the vast majority of the dark areas of our sphere. All right, we still see shading shapes or roundness, but we're seeing less of it because we're getting a fall off. It sort of looks 3D. Again, this is faking 3D, not real 3D. The next thing we want to do, I just want to make sure of something over here in my other node. I did a clamp over here. I think I did the clamp just to be on the safe side, because we did a little bit of grading adjustment, and anytime I do a grading adjustment, I want to make sure that everything clamps to the minimum and the maximum over here. All right, and then we're going to go back over here to our croc. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to take this. This is going to be our actual light, and it's going to light up with this as the background. So we need to merge this. So what we're going to do is put a merge node here, and we're going to merge the croc emboss on top of it. All right, and I'm just going to double check to make sure what I used. What I decided I wanted to use on it was a screen. All right, so we're going to go to screen. There we go. And what the screen is going to do, why we're using screen, is we're going to try and treat this. We could use, actually, we might use, instead of screen, we may use, we could try doing linear lighting, which is, I think, just plus, which is adds it to one another. But the problem we can see, the problem is the plus, we can see what just happened there. The plus added to what was already there, so we're winding up overdriving it. So yeah, we're going to switch it back to screen. Screen kept it peaked out at exactly 1, so our light is not exceeding the value. All right, so our lighting effect is going to be whatever our lighting effect is. All right, so let's see. What did I set for my base thing? I want to move the light off to the left here. I want to start it off above the center point of our view. So that means for this position, I want to set this above it. So I'm going to set it 0 is, we have to think 0 is the dead center. So we want to move it up where 1080, half of 1080. If we want to get it up to the edge, we want to set this to 540. Would be halfway up towards the top. And then we want to move it to our left here. And we want, so to move it to our left, we want to put it to in a negative value because we're at 0. So to go negative, we'll move it to the left of the light or of our sphere. So I want to hit negative 960, which should put it right at this upper left-hand corner of our screen. That would be where our light is. All right. So there we go. We have our light. But the problem we have is that this is looking really, really nasty. There's this very, very hard edge here. And it looks like crud. So how can we fix this? Well, let's see. What I decided worked the best for fixing this was to take and we want to use a blur node. I'm going to use a blur node, and I'm going to put the blur node down here, and I'm just verifying what I have. I think I want to put the blur node up a lot. We're going to probably put it up close to, let's start off with 50. That softens it a bit. Let's keep going up. We've got up to 100. All right, that's looking better. Let's try 200. 200's looking pretty good. Let me just verify what I've got here. All right, so that's that, and we want to. All right, we're going to. I just want to make sure of something. We're going to take this because of. I'm going to do one more thing here. I'm going to put a dot node here. This is too hard. It's just, and it's also not. We've lost our shape here. So what we want to do is recombine this with our original shape. Now let me just verify. I want to verify on this. Oops, I want to do that. Yeah. All right. So we're going to try and combine it with this alpha right here. We're going to use this as a mask, so to speak. Now it has some lighting on it, but that's okay. That's going to actually help enhance this. So what we're going to do is do a merge. Well, put it in the wrong spot. Here. Merge. There we go. All right. And we're going to do, we're going to set it so that its A comes in like that. And then we're going to take the alpha, or the mask of that, and plug it in there so that it trims out the original alpha that we had. So we went from our blur to this is very much like what we did with our text when we trimmed off the text. We're trimming off around it using the original mask. Now we do have some fall off. I'm not worried about it. I think we're going to wind up with something that looks pretty good in the end, I hope. So wait a minute. I think something feels wrong here. Why am I not seeing what I want to see? That's weird. Hold on. Huh. Oh, we're looking at the alpha. That's why. All right, there we go. So then we go like that. There we go. That's what it looks like when we add in the alpha. And you'll notice that that little bit of alpha, what it does is it actually adds a bit of extra shading to the edge of that. So that way, when we merge it over this, we wind up with something that looks like that, which is to me, is a much nicer looking fall off around the edges. Then, you know, let's look at it before. All right, the way we can do it, we can just take that's before, and this is after doing the blur, and then merging the alpha of this, which is this, with this blur, which is this, together create this, which we superimpose over this, which is our ambient color, to create this. All right, so now we have something that is lit. It looks like a spheroid that has been lit by something. Is it perfect? No, but it's very, very good. And if we take this light and we start playing with this, let's move this in increments. We can see that we can move it across by just moving this value. We can move it across our object to light our object. I'm looking at and making sure I don't want to go past my 960. So there's a fundamental light on this thing. All right, and let's try and snap this together. So then the question becomes, all right, we have this light. The problem we face is, of course, we don't know that this is going to be, we don't know that this is we've done something, we're doing lighting effects. It could be, it could do something wonky, so we might want to clamp this. I always am a firm believer when we start playing with light, because who knows, I may want to overdrive that value a whole lot by putting a multiply in here somewhere and make it and drive that value up so that it's a way brighter than it currently is. And so I want to ensure that no matter what comes out of this point, this is our assembled light. I want to clamp it after this. So I want to put right here, I'm going to put in a clamp node so that we ensure that our lighting is locked in within the range of 0 to 1. All right, and that's all this is going to do. All right, that's all we have to do to get it to fit within the range, or at least it should be. It will expose errors if there are errors, and then we can adjust and force it back down to 1 if we need to. So then the question becomes, all right, we have this, but how do we create the actual lighting for our color? Well, all right. I think the first thing we need to do is we need to fix, what we need to do is go back to our alpha out of this. Actually, I might be able to take the alpha out of this. No, the alpha out of this is just as bad. All right, we can, it doesn't really matter where we pull the alpha from. We just need to get the alpha. So what I think we're going to do is, it's just going to look prettier if we, I think if we put a period here to get our dot node. Let's reconnect that there. Should have probably just hooked it up, put a dot node above it. All right, so we have a dot node above, and we're going to, out of this, we're going to, we're mainly here going to be concentrating on this alpha. We need to fix this. So I think the first thing we need to do is, let me just double check something here. I took my alpha here. I think I don't, well, let me just see if this works. I'm looking at what I had. I thought I'd fixed the alpha. We shall see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a shuffle node in here. Tab shuff. Whoops, not S. Why is that working like that? All right, let's try this again. Wait a minute. Oh, I deleted the heck. Come on, Natron, give me back my period. There we go. All right, there. All right, tab shuffle. There we go. All right, that was weird. So here we're going to take, we need to take, I don't want my alpha on, I don't want to be viewing this. Let's get off of the alpha channel and look at it in RGB. And I'm going to take, let me just think about this for a minute. Why do I want that there? Do I have that there for a reason? Is this there? I actually think I have a bit of left over from some other thing I was attempting. I take it back. I don't need this shuffle node. This is a pointless node. What we want is a clamp node, right? Right, we want a clamp node. I was like, this isn't making any sense to me. All right, sorry, clamp. I left a dangly bit in my original graph. All right, so we're going to play the same game that we did just a moment ago. We're going to go over here, go to alpha. All right. And for the clamp node, what we're going to do here is we're going to set everything. We're going to set this down, the maximum value, to 0.01. All all right, for the maximum. And then we're going to tell it that we want to clamp everything from the minimum to black and the maximum to white, which is going to make it, let's see what that did. All right, this is our alpha. What we're trying to do is get it basically so our alpha goes from, let's see if we can disable this. You can see we have shading here versus white. We have a solid, when you can see down here the values, we have a solid white right out to the edge right there. So that means that this is all white to the edge. The problem is that we've lost all anti-aliasing on the edge of this node, which means we're going to have to deal with that on the alpha channel at some point. Let's get off of our alpha channel as well and look at it. So that's interesting. Our alpha is wider, also wider than our actual image. So we may also need to let's take a look. So that's the image and that's the alpha. So our alpha's too big, so we may have to pull that in a bit to fit. All right, we're not going to worry about that too much at this point. So let's see. I just want to make sure. All right. So what we're going to do is put a solid over here. Do I want a solid? I just want to make sure I want a solid. Yes. I'm going to do a solid. Solid. And you say solid. Why am I using a solid versus a constant? And the reason is because we're mimicking an image, and not all images have alpha channels. So we want to make sure that whatever we feed is going to have an alpha channel. This is where we need a shuffle node. We do need a shuffle here. And you can't see it because I've got the text over it. We're gonna hit tab, shuffle, put a shuffle node there. And the shuffle node, what we're gonna do is I want to make sure I set the shuffle node. Yes, I want the shuffle node to just have a value of 1 by default, because we're dictating our alpha is going to be coming from over here, not from this. I don't believe. All right, then what we're going to do is we're going to crop the result of this, and that's going to make because we need this. We're going to be playing with a gimmick node to simulate right now, because I don't feel like we've dealt with distortions and so forth, and if we get into more complex shapes, we could use either iDistort or SE or ST map to push and pull our graphics. But from the standpoint of this, there's already a gimmick node that sort of mimics a sphere already. So what we're going to do is type in, we're going to do, first of all, we need to crop this, because we're going to be doing something a little later. We want to crop it to the default value, which is HD right by default, but that's fine. Actually, I think I just want to make sure of this. Yeah, all right, that's good. You might want to change it to default if you need to, but it's going to adapt to whatever this is. Or actually, default should be what we want. I take it back. Can we do that? Wait a minute. Here. It's the size. Just say default. There we go. So that's going to take the input here, which should be, hopefully, B. Should set our default value. Hopefully. If it doesn't, we'll fix it. Next up, we need to sphericalize. Oh, yes, we want to give this a color. Let's go take that off of that. Take this, give it a color. We're going to pick out, I think I picked this, and yeah, that's good. That's going to be our color. There's our base color. We're going to shuffle it so that it has a solid. Admittedly, the solid already has an alpha, but this is just going to ensure when we do merge nodes that the merge nodes are going to default to seeing it as having an alpha versus having to constantly check that little A button on the merge nodes. All right, so what I want to do, it's very weird. I'm just seeing All right, so we want to do take this clamp node. Oh, actually, what we want to do is just do a merge node here. We're going to take not connected to anything. We're going to put the A into the crop node. All right. So that means what? Because we're going to be dictating the alpha channel with this node. All right. So there's our base. We've created it. So there's our shape. Now we are going to need to, I believe, anti-alias this, but I want to just make sure of something. We want to, I want to keep it over. I'm going to, again, clamp. I've been clamping the crud out of it. I'd made this a while ago, so apologize if some of these are maybe unnecessary. I did that. I tend to be overzealous with the clamps at times. All right, shuffle node. I'll put the shuffle node there. Why did I put the shuffle node there? I think I put the shuffle node there. I just want to make sure. You know what? I don't think we need the shuffle node there. I'm going to avoid the shuffle node. I think it was an excessive. I had been experimenting with a lot of stuff when I was doing this, and that might be a residual thing. We're going to put a point there. All right. So this is going to come back, and this is going to feed a merge node. All right. And so this is going to be the base. So we're going to do a merge, and we're going to come over here. This is going to be the bottom, and we're going to say that we're going to take the clamp node above it, and you can see that we've put the lighting on top of it, and you're saying, wait a minute, that doesn't look lit. That's because we're using over as our thing. Instead of using over, what we're going to do is change it to hard light. And when we change it to hard light, we wind up with lighting our object. And so there we go. We've lit what has come out of this clamp node, and we wind up with basically the equivalent of a light. Let's get rid of that and drag that down. Drag this up and drag. Actually, let's just get rid of that and pull that in like that. There we go. That's a much nicer looking graph. All right. So there we go. We have added light. All right. So now we say, okay, well, how do we animate it? Well, we animate it by we go back to our light position, and we're on frame 0. We're going to set that here, and we're going to say we're going to go to the position. We're going to set a key for all dimensions here, and I think I went out 30. I want to just double check that. Let me just don't know if my increments. Hold on one moment. Right, yeah, I don't have it set up right. Let me see. So, all right, so I went out approximately. I want to go out to 49, frame 49 here. You know what? I don't think we really need this lighting for our purposes. I think we're done with waveform, although this 10 can't. We're gonna leave it. We're gonna leave it. I'm not gonna mess with it. We're gonna go out to frame 49. Is that right? No. 51. I want to do this at frame 51. At frame 51, I'm going to set a key here. We'll set a key all dimensions just so that it is. And then we're going to go to frame. I'm going to go to frame 125 because we've got 250 frames. So we're going to go to frame 125. And at frame 125, I'm going to go back 1, 2, 3 frames. And we're going to change this from 960 or negative 960 to 960 for our light. So it's shifted to the other side. And we can set a key. We'll set a key for all of them. All right, so that will make it move pretty rapidly from one side of the frame to the other. And then we'll go back up to the midpoint. And at the midpoint, I think I want to dip this down a bit so that it's more in front of, or a lower value, just above the center point. I'm doing this so that we get some 3D sort of movement here. And then we're gonna go, I don't know, we're gonna go for 20 this time, just 20, and we're gonna put this back up to 540, and then we're gonna keep this, set a key here. We'll set a key for all dimensions, so we're back up to 960 there, and then we're gonna go to the last frame, which is here. We're gonna set a key, all dimensions, and we're gonna go back, just so I just want people to see we're keeping within that 250. I'm gonna go back 10 20 frames. I'm not sticking to my typical 24 frames. We'll set a key here. All right, so let's look at what our animation looks like at this point, see if this looks good. Now, this is our base lighting. So you're saying to yourself, all right, well, if you know, well, mentioned that Gimmick has, we're going to get the spherical pattern from Gimmick. And by the way, the reason we're not anti-aliasing this at this point is because we're not actually superimposing this over anything at this point. Let me just make sure I didn't do that. I did have a method for potentially doing anti-aliased edges if you want to actually superimpose, say, the sphere over something, so you had a 3D sphere or something going around. There's our lighting. Our lighting is going along. We can see that lovely little shadow going off on the side. And it's a little linear looking, maybe. Might want to check our curves here. No, that's all right. I can live with that. It's looking fine. It's got a nice ease in and ease out going on already. Wait a minute. Let me just see something. That was dumb. Why did I make the move down there? I did that at the wrong point. I didn't want this there. I wanted it in the middle of our motion. Oi. All right, let's go back to, I just realized, we want to go back halfway between these 2 points. I don't know what I was thinking. All right, about there. All right, and this is where I want to take that 540 down and dip it down to like, not 140. We'll bring it down here so that it just sort of kind of looks like it's sort of dipping in front of everything. Boy, that's creating a real hot spot, though. I don't know that I like that hot spot. All right, well, we'll fine. We'll bring it down to just 500 instead. I don't want it to go too low. We're getting a highlight. I don't want that specular. I think there's... Did I? Oh! Turn off the specular. There we go. Did I have that? I want to make sure I did that on the... Yes, I've done that on the other one. Don't leave on... You could leave on your specular. I don't recommend it. It can make it look really funky. It's very hard to control the fall off the specular. We'd have to do that as a separate channel if we want to do that. That would be why we're not getting this nice. All right, so let's go forward to that point. All right, let's take that back down to 440. There we go. All right, I'm happy with that, and we'll go over here and about halfway through this one, we'll also bring this down to 440 as well. I just want to have it so that we're doing something a little more elaborate than what we did. All right, let's take a look at it. We're scrubbing. You can see. You know what? I've got an idea. We're gonna shift this. Well, I don't know if we've ever talked about proxy mode before, but you can drop your viewport settings down to a lower, pixel rating. You can see we've dropped this down so it renders faster. So now if we do this, that's interesting. It's looking like it's calculating out. Despite my turning off the specular, it looks like it's rendering a specular over there, which is very strange. It's blinking on and off. That's I would call that an error, but whatever. We're going to turn off the proxy mode. That shouldn't show up in I think that's just because it was doing a... Yeah, when we're scrubbing through it with real light, and it's looking fine. All right, enough of that. I want to go in and we want to add in our color bars and make a double color bar system. And you know what? I'm just going to save us a wee bit of trouble because I'm looking at our time, and I'm going to copy it from my other one. All right, and I'm just going to copy it. All it is, it's pretty simple. I'm going to paste it. There we go. So what I've got here, I've got a color bar here, 2P color bars. I've got a transform node that has transformed this that has offset this. You can see that if we go to frame 0, or the first frame, what I did is I had it so that when... Oh, I'm missing one of the bits here. Oh, we're missing a bit. Let's pull that up and over. This should be off to the side. Right here, we want to have one other thing here, which is a gimmick node, which is this gimmick node right here. This is called Spherize. All right, I'm zooming in on it. Spherize, and you can see it says it has a color input, and we're going to take the source and we're going to put it in there, and we're going to take that and we're going to put it in there, like so. And out of this, by default, when we do this, it's going to spherize the things, and then we're going to... So it's going to sphere... What it does is it spherizes whatever's coming in. We really can't see what's going on here because there's nothing going in that has a pattern. We're just seeing a solid color. If we put it, though, onto our two color maps, what we wind up with... Why is the Spherize not... That's odd. We should be seeing... Why is this? That's weird. Hold on one second. Let me just look at this. Make sure I've got it. Yeah, it's working there. What's going on? I have a feeling that one of the gimmicks settings is not set correctly on this one. When I copied it across, I'll double check. Alright. Well, now that is very strange. I'm a bit bothered by this because this is not what it's supposed to be doing. Let's just connect. Let me just double check my... Hold on. Did I not have the right thing on my shuffle node? That's right. Alright, that's correct. Let me check my crop. Crop center. You know what? We're going to set it to size. And then we're going to set that so that that was the B input for the shuffle. There we go. All right, it was apparently the crop, because I had the crop node set to default that as opposed to size. That didn't matter. All right. So, all right, let's look at what happened here. Just quickly. All right. So, what the Spherize is doing, all right, is the reason that I have the transform here is because the Spherize works off of whatever's the farmost edge over here. We'll cut into this sphere point if it's too far over. So I didn't want this gray to exceed the side. And you can see side of this. And we can tell that, by the way, this is not truly spherical. This is sphere-like. There's better ways. If we actually built something that actually distorted it using an ST map, we could actually distort this properly if we can find a way of distorting it in a spherical form. And we may look into that in the future. I have not found the exact pattern yet to get that to do it, but I'm positive we can do it. I just don't know it at this point. So we're taking this as our tide me over. So our tide me over works off of this. The idea is that this Spherize, I've set the radius to 43, and the reason I set it to 43 is that's approximately the same size as this sphere here, so that it basically matches this. And what this is doing, this clamp is basically cropping out the edge of this. We're not going to worry about the fact that it's not, perfect. In fact, it's really not perfect. Actually, it's better than I thought on that. Anyway, so why do I have two transforms? So let's look at what transform 1 does. The first transform, this one over here, is animated to over the first. If we hit play, it moves across the screen, but you can see when it gets to the other side, I wanted it to move all the way around the entire Spherize thing from one side all the way to the other. So the problem we run into with this is, of course, well, if we only fed that, let's just feed that alone, we can see that we wind up with black at the end of our animation. We have nothing left. It's black. So what the second Spherize is it's offset from the first by exactly, well, it's not exactly, it's actually 1 pixel to the right of it, because I found out when these moved, the transforms moved, the merge, I wound up with these two edges here. I wound up with a shimmering black pixel in the middle, so I decided, you know what, nobody's ever going to notice that it's 1 pixel off on this mapping. And so by merging the two together, the results of both of those over one another, and then pulling it together, what we wind up with is basically a double transform, which is why we have this crop, because Spherize works off of whatever's fed into it. And if the image is bigger than the entire what it has, the risk, or at least a lot of gimmick nodes, give an issue if they don't match the output resolution. So the crop node basically crops it in so that all that the other day somebody used the term bounding box. This is the bounding box right here of both of these color bars images as they transform across this. The textures transforming across this, and this crop basically crops it so that all that's feeding into the Spherize is the result, the visible result that we're going to be using to actually Spherize into this shape. And then we're going to crop out we're going to use this merge node to crop out that, and of course feed it in, clamp it, and then we're going to light it, and then we're going to, well, that's actually it. That's where our end is. So here's what we have. And you know what? I'm looking at this, and we've got a lot of extra stuff. We're going to try there's a tip somebody had given the other day, and I think it was, let me make sure, which one's giving us that ROD? Aha! All right, so we're going to take the the ROD of B, which is HD. It's already preset, because we have this bounding box from this one that we don't really need. So we're going to say here, for our bounding box outside, we're going to take it to the B, which eliminates the bounding box from the A input and should speed up the overall rendering of this. So now, let's see if we can, what this looks like. Let's see, this waveform isn't going to show our, you know what? If we put that on there, this is the waveform for our entire thing. You know what? I only care about the lighting for a waveform, so we're going to just hit that. We're going to hit play. And there we go. It sort of worked. We saw that flicker there. That's just a draw error. Don't worry about that. That's just, for some reason, Natron's reading it, has read it wrong. And Yeah, it's doing a draw error. The cache is corrupt. I'd have to clear the cache, and I don't feel like rebuilding the cache from scratch. So anyway, we can sort of see what's going on. Every one of those, that's just a draw error. That is a cache error. That will not happen in the or should not happen in the final render. If it does, you know, what I would do is I'd recommend just breaking everything up here, just disconnect it and reconnect it, and it should rebuild it all afterwards. Actually, we probably could break it, I don't know, probably about here. If we break it there and connect it, and then break the source here, and we need to push that over. All right. So there we go. That's basically it. This is all it is. I'm gonna save this. Let's control save this as. Oh right, I was messing with the cloud generator some more. I've already made this. That episode 6 has to get out of there. We're gonna call this fake 3D. We're gonna call it sphere. Now I just want to point out that this is just because I'm applying this to a sphere does not limit us. We can just, I also want to point out that what we got for our lighting results is only because we only used a single light. Technically we have two lights in here. We have our ambient light and we have our main light, our key light. We have not created a rim. There are ways of making rim lights. Basically, to make a rim light, what we would do is we would create our key light the same way we did our key, and we would invert that light so that and take the result of it and use it in an inverted form, and then we might mask off the bits and so forth to create the extra to create a halo and so forth. Anyway, that's how you could do rear lighting and so forth. Because the problem is, of course, this is. The crop node only, or excuse me, the croc and boss node can't actually get to the side of it, which does create a wee bit of a problem. Well, it can get to the side of it by lowering it down, but once it passes a certain point, the lighting will just ultimately disappear. Well, we have to actually lower and raise that light's pivot point around the sphere to get it to create the actual depth or the transition around and wrap around the sphere. And I haven't actually fully tested it, so don't go. Well, you can do it. Or I recommend exploring it, but I just wanted to let you know I haven't really pushed this too much before because I was looking for a specific effect with this, and this confirmed what I wanted to know, whether this was going to work. We can do more with this, but to add more lights, we basically just add more croc and boss nodes to be whatever light we want. So yes, so this is our fake 3D live _001, and we're gonna save that, and I might just upload this for you guys because there's nothing in this project that really needs to be yeah, I'll probably be uploading this one to the website or to the user site anyway. Again, the goal was, oh yes, and all I did for the video was I looped this is loopable. I think it was one frame off in the loop to get the texture to loop perfectly. But I looped it, and then I layered the two different renders, the sphere or the blue sphere and the color thing, and then I just transitioned in an editor. That doesn't make sense to do the transition. You could do the transition in. We've not talked about transitioning. We could do it. It's just simple. You just do a mix. If you really want to do it inside of here, double the length of this, could duplicate the animation, offset it, and then do a mix blend between the two, and then blend it back, and you're back to doing the exact same thing. Let's see. Anyway, so that's it. And then you'd use a time offset node to cause the loop, and yeah, we're good. All right. So today's goal was, of course, this. And I think we created that, so thanks for watching and keep on Natroning.